సూపర్ ఉందన్న. చాలా బాగుంది. ఇలాంటి గిన్నె ఇంకోటి తెచ్చినా కూడా అయిపోద్ది. ఇంట్లో అమ్మ చేసినట్టు ఉంది. చాలా బాగుంది.
Welcome to the journey of Vishwa Foundation, an organization dedicated to bringing positive change to society every single day. In just 1,176 days, since its inception in May 2021, Vishwa Foundation has grown into a beacon of hope and change. Vishwa Talks is an online platform inspiring people to participate in social change by hosting experts who share insights on diverse topics every Saturday.
Namaste. Vishwa is an organization which works towards building the grassroots levels of India. The first step we take towards that is to build an awareness. We work in different causes, from education, health, art and culture to 12 other causes. On every Saturday at 11 a.m., we have a talk on these various topics. For example, when it comes to health, India has a rich source of Ayurvedic treatments, alternative medicines like Ayurveda, homeopathy, Siddha, naturopathy. At a time when India is leading in diabetes, heart attacks, cancer, we have preventive medication which can be used. So a lot of talks have come out where people can use household items to prevent some of these or to control some of them. Our grandmothers were a rich source of information. Our parents knew a little lesser than that. And we know a lot lesser than that. And perhaps our children may never get that heritage. Here at Vishwa, we have people who tell us how to use the household items like curry leaves or neem or lemongrass, for what ailments, etc. Similarly, we have talks on art and culture. We would like to have our Indians to be united, be one, be proud of their culture, their heritage. We have a lot of talks where people from various walks of life have come forward and spoken about various buildings, various dance forms, etc. These are two examples I have given. We cover 12 causes like this in our Vishwa Talks. As a first step, we want to bring in awareness among the coming generation. Our audience is across the country and sometimes abroad too. We have a rich interactive session after the talk is given by the expert. It's for any person who watches these talks to decide what they want to believe in, what they don't want to believe in, and if they have any clarifications, they're free to ask questions. After this, we want to build the skills of the people of India. Today, India is on the cusp of moving into one of the top countries of the world. But unfortunately, the skills of our people do not match our aspirations. Here at Vishwa, we started out in a small way. We started with computer training. Fortunately for us, Rotary and some people have donated computers to us. We teach 10th class students, inter students and degree students so that when they go for jobs, they don't get rejected. We teach the basics like Excel, Doc, ChatGPT, how to market. The basics we teach, because most of them cannot afford computers and they have no access to them. And similarly, we have something called celebrations. Celebrations is celebrating your loved ones on their anniversaries, on their birthdays, on their death anniversaries. You could contribute to any of the causes that Vishwa showcases on its platform vishwa.org. You could, Annadanam for instance. There are a lot of people across the country who, when they go to hospitals, they come up from far off regions and the little money they have, they keep it aside for the treatment of the patient. They sleep on platforms, they hardly eat anything. And we give them food every afternoon on Fridays and it makes a lot of difference. There are similar such fundraisers. Please feel free to celebrate your loved ones with any of these causes.
Vishwa's commitment towards zero waste and the long way to go in achieving the goal begins with our material donation drive. Conducted twice a year during Diwali and Ugadi in Hyderabad, this drive collects clothes, books, toys and other used or semi-used items for the underprivileged. Contributions from over 615 plus families have benefited around 2,800 individuals, providing essential items and support, bringing hope and dignity to them. Through these efforts, we transform the waste of some into the treasure of others, promoting sustainability and community welfare.
Namaskaram. A very good morning and welcome to Vishwa Talks. My name is Trishant and I thank you all for attending today's event on Zoom and to those watching on YouTube Live. For those of you who have attended a Vishwa Talk before, a warm welcome back. And for our new joinees, here's a little bit about us. Vishwa Talks is here to create awareness amongst people and to protect our social heritage and to let people make their own decisions. Here we invite experts to discuss and explore diverse opinions, different perspectives, various issues, problems, and perspectives, and their solutions on various fields, including art and culture, healthcare, ecology and environment, education, and many more. So far, we have covered over 150 talks. Each webinar is an interactive session with a deeper understanding of the topic at hand. If you miss any part of the session or would like to go through the previous sessions, please visit our website or Vishwa Talks YouTube channel for a full library of past Vishwa Talks on various interesting topics. Today, we are honored to have with us a visionary leader whose work lies at the powerful intersection of technology, entrepreneurship, and social impact, Mr. Manish Kothari. He is the driving force behind groundbreaking initiatives in waste management and sustainability, most notably the innovative Silica Plastic Block SPB technology, which has garnered attention for its transformative potential in addressing environmental challenges. Through his ventures Rhino Machines and Mimamsa, he exemplifies what it means to turn ideas into action, especially in ways that align with the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. But Sir's impact goes far beyond innovation. He is a passionate advocate for bridging the gap between academia and industry, working closely with schools, vocational training centers, engineering institutes, and business schools to inspire the next generation of change makers. His mission is clear: to empower communities, reduce waste, promote energy efficiency, and uplift lives through education and technology. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Mr. Manish Kothari, a true changemaker whose work is shaping a more sustainable and equitable future for us all. As we dive into today's interesting discussion, I would like to inform the audience that our speaker will be taking questions from you after our main talk. So please leave the questions in the chat box or use the raise hand tool in the React section of Zoom, and we will allow you to ask your questions in person. I request everyone to turn on your webcam for the interactive part of the webinar. I request you to keep the questions concise and short. Please limit the interaction part to questions, and you can share your experiences, opinions, and perspectives in the chat box. So without further ado, let's welcome Mr. Manish Kothari as he shares his experience, his journey, and valuable insights into a sustainable way forward, moving from a linear to a circular living. Good morning, sir.
Thank you
Namaskar,
so
sir.
much, Prashant and Vishwa Talks for hosting me. And let me try to share whatever I have gained from these years of learning from the community itself, because it's not that something has come from inside. Everything which has come from outside is what I have processed and tried to put together into some sort of framework which we can all relate to. So if you could quickly go to our presentation slides, Rakesh, then we can walk through this journey. Yes, as you said, I am a commercial entity per se, but I live in I enjoy doing social work while doing commercial work much more. And that's where, again, bringing sustainability into social activities requires a balance between commerce and social, which we also call as socioeconomics. So we just try to go to the next slide, please. So the topic is about moving from linear to circular living. But what does that mean? And just to put this context, this was around 7-8 years or maybe some time back when I was really amazed at this finding that we are consuming 1.7 times of the resources, or 1.7 times faster than what we are producing. And that is attributed to this shift from circular economy, which used to practice before, to linear economy. And recently there was one symposium where this was again highlighted, that the capacity of production in our Earth, which we are supposed to, which can produce in a whole year, we are consuming in 7 months. And this is a glaring, and I want to like people to dwell on this thought, that this is where we are today, and how do we sustain our living, and that's why sustainable living, while consuming more than what we are able to produce. So that shift from the linear economy we have got so used to, of take, make, use, and dispose, and trying to see how we can go back to our traditional methods which we have practiced. I have been through a childhood where I remember having a fourth-hand cycle, clothes coming from my brothers or family, and wearing them. So what has happened that we have forgotten those traditions. So that's what, and there are some links which there's a lot of information available on the website when you want to dwell into this. So next slide, please. And just to make it very simple, let us understand what is circular economy as a broad outline. So traditionally, if you go back to your houses and you talk to your grandmother or people from the age era where who have gone through 1950s to 1980s, 1990s in their adulthood, you'll find that this was a practice where we were continuing to keep our resource in a circle. And that's what we could call as circularity, which is now named as circularity. It was a way of life for us for so many years. So if you look at this concept and look at how we as individuals are able to practice this, क्या हम अपने जो रहन सहन है, जो हम जिस तरह से रहते हैं, क्या हम अपने आप को सर्कुलर इकोनॉमी, एक सस्टेनेबल वे की तरफ ले जाने में यूज कर सकते हैं? नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज. So I have brought some perspectives, and as Trishant mentioned about sustainable development goals, perhaps this has been going on for quite some time. We are always looking at SDGs, UN Sustainable Development Goals. About a year back, I did an online course on this to really understand, because I was exposed to this to some extent in 2015. Before that, I was also not aware of what SDGs meant. I just thought it was some word with the United Nations uses. I can't relate to it. And then when I dived deeper into this, I started to understand that SDGs actually, if you look at this from a distance, though there are 17 SDGs, you can break them down to something which is about the environment, which is the biosphere, the earth which we live in, the society, which is to do with poverty, to do with innovation, to do with education, health, well-being, and all of that. And the third is the economical aspect, where we are able to so we also need to sustain. So how do we, if we don't have money, how can I buy something? So the economic balance which has a lot to do with circularity as well. Okay, so when we look at SDG 12, for example, is about responsible consumption and production, which is directly connected to the circularity core aspect, which we started with, moving from linear economy to circular economy, is directly connected to SDG 12. And while doing so, we are also connecting all the other 16 SDGs, is what I've realized over a period of time. As we delve deeper and deeper into understanding, we did not start that we want to follow SDGs, but we realized that what we were doing was actually aligned to all the SDGs. And so many times, this is something which I always tell people to be very careful, not to be driven by the outcome that I want to do SDGs, but work on the inputs which will lead me to SDGs. Okay, so yeah, if I go back to our Sri Bhagavad Gita, जहाँ पे एक लाइन है, कर्म कर फल की इच्छा मत कर. अगर उसका सारांश, if I look at the meaning, so look at your inputs, not at the outcome. And if we are able to shift our mindset from looking at circularity and SDGs, from what goes in to make it happen, rather than saying that I want to be circular, but how? Okay. And so SDGs have a very strong relationship with circularity. It's all about our sustenance. Next slide. So this slide may be very useful when you start thinking about sustainable development. And to really put this into, this was another perspective which came up. Again, this was in February when I was not aware of this R letter again, but it was my, I keep on looking for, whenever somebody mentions something, मेरे को एक बड़ी जिज्ञासा means I get into it to try to understand what does this actually mean. And then I started researching what is R letter. A lot of content has been available on websites, so processing that. And there was something which was very interesting. This lady Swati, she shared. It's called a butterfly diagram. I picked up only one part of it. It's called the biological cycle and the technical cycle. On the technical cycle side, it's said that the lower is your number in R ladder, the lesser is your carbon footprint. Just to make it very simple, the lower is your number on the R ladder, the lesser is the harm you're creating to the environment. And if you look that as a strategy, that I would like to work closer to R0 than further from R0. Okay? And that's a strategy that if you are able to build within your habits, your way of living, your businesses, the way you look at this, and so refuse, rethink, reduce. It is not that we are not aware of these terms. Somewhere or the other, hum apni zindagi mein, in our lifestyle, we are using them, we are practicing them, but we don't have a name given to them, and we don't understand what this practice actually mean. So there's something which come at a very basic fundamental level, how you design things, and we can go over some examples on that. But it's also, once you have brought a resource into use, how is it that you are making the best out of the resource? Is when your repair, refurbish, reuse, repair, refurbish, remanufacture, repurpose, recycle with the word come in the phase after the resource has come into use, from my understanding. Whereas the reuse, refuse, rethink, and reduce comes before I put the resource into my ecosystem. So try to separate these two things. I try to separate these two things when I'm taking a decision on doing something. So the next slide, please. And there I try to look at how does it relate to us. Okay? So it's a very complex jargon. What is this R letter, R letter? Now, this refuse is something which I and my wife learned from our daughter. So she has actually embraced this much before we did. Our children are much better than what here I had started to find. They are much more aware. And she said to her mother, Rashmi, that when you go to DMart to buy something or to a supermarket, look at that rack. And before you pick up that thing, ask yourself, close your eyes, ask yourself one more time, do I really need this? That's where you refuse to buy something which you don't need. And consumerism is somewhere challenged. So refusing and consumerism are interconnected. And the second part comes from a lot of times we talk about sharing resources. Right? So that's rethinking the strategy. So one of the things which I consciously do is if I'm traveling to Delhi, for example, or in Mumbai, the first thing I look for is, do I have a public transport which I can take? I can be comfortable. I can do it in my time. Or am I able to adapt my time so that I can use that common resource? That is rethinking my strategy to reduce the carbon footprint by using shared resources. It's a very simple thing which you can do in life, sharing your car, sharing your transport, sharing your resources is something which can be practiced in our daily life, and it becomes a habit. Okay, what all these things are something to do which is coming from inside. Somebody from outside can't force it. It will be possible only when you start realizing and put this into your own inner consciousness. Okay, I want to practice this. Okay? Then comes reduce. And it was, again, a very recent example for us from my personal life. Again, I'm trying to relate because it's something which we can do every day. When we built our house initially around 10 years ago, it had 3-4 bedrooms, and our daughter was there. My in-laws used to come here, or some guests used to come here. Now, after 8-9 years, only I and my wife are there. The daughter is out of the country. In-laws are not able to come. And we are using a very big facility, which we are not going to use at any time. So the first floor, we would not go for 3 months, 6 months. Again, our daughter told us, sir, why are you doing this? Why don't you move into a smaller house? So she helped us, and what we thought was a security for her, she said it's a liability for her. Look at this understanding that she said, this is not security, this is liability. How will I manage this when I am going out? And it was in September or October 2024, we took a decision to sell that house and build a house with only 2 bedrooms. And that's what is being constructed right now. Now, that is one of the very recent examples of reduce at a very macro level. It's very difficult to detach from your home, which you have built yourself. Okay? So that emotional detachment is very essential to bring inside you if I want to practice reduce. And after doing this, a lot of people in our society would say, we also think this is right. And now there are people with such big houses over there, 2 floors, 3 floors, and who's living? 2 people are living in that. But from emotions, we build something very big, but can we look at reducing? Minimalism is exactly what you would look at as a reflection. So reduce is about minimalism in a way. And then, so these are at a very basic planning stage, which are more to do with before you start using the resources. Then reuse is, we are used to this, and we have some apps today like OLX and XY, such apps, which are promoting reuse. Now, if I look at that app, it's not about, am I able to make money from something? I'm seeing that whatever has been produced has a life remaining. Am I able to reuse it till the end of life of that product or that material, that resource? And repair is something which is very common for us in India. I think it's not something which we do, but over a period of time, what has happened is because of this availability of cheaper products, okay, which are coming to the market, we have got into certain habits of use and throw. We don't want to go that extra mile. Oh, won't go to that watchmaker to repair it. I just throw it and buy a new watch. I just order from e-commerce and dispose it. So those are some difficult habits, which we, not so good habits, that we don't try to repair, we just try to just get rid of it. So these are something which you can do in your day-to-day life. It is something which can also be done in the industry, but whatever, and there's something else which I think you could reflect on, that the way you behave at your home is the same way you're going to behave in your industry. So behaviors are fungible. They will reflect. So the moment you start refusing in your home, you'll find that impact is also evident on your business. And I have seen that is in my own journey today, where I'm sitting. We are in the month of May in Gujarat, and we don't have an air conditioning over here. Okay, so the practicing of circularity starts from ourselves. So the entire office, there is no air conditioning, it's an open room, but we made a building such that we have air circulation and we are able to live in a natural habitat. It has multiple things. It may reduce my efficiency temporarily, but it is going to enhance my health substantially. Okay? So air conditioning is giving me a temporary relief, whereas not being in air conditioning is giving a long-term sustainability of myself and enhancing my ability to live in this world in any condition. A lot of people say, oh, I spoke to a person a few days back. He said, I got a heat wave. He said, what happened? So I was getting into AC and then going out of AC, going into AC, going out of AC. So I was working in 2 different climates in the same place. So my body was not able to. So here I'm saying I'm living in only one climate. That's so this is to do with something which is more inside. And then the R5, next slide, please. The R5 to R9 are something to do with design and innovation. Okay. So because we are talking of remanufacturing, we are talking of refurbishing, we are talking of repurposing, recycling. The closer, again, the same principle. If we are able to do something at R5, I should not go to R9. Okay? So I used to think recycling is great. Okay? When I got into the silica plastic block, and I said recycling is great, but actually it's not so great. If I was able to remanufacture it and take it into the inner cycle, okay? Let's say in R7, why should I go into R9? Just because of my commercial benefit, I'm increasing the footprint, carbon footprint. And this is something which I started to realize in my business. And so the business should be also considered, my activity should also be considered from a perspective of which circle, which R cycle I'm using for my business. Am I looking at innovating ways? And this slide I've taken from another academy or something, but this is something which I realized because as a part of a UN program called Empretec, this is one of the behaviors actually, which is very fundamental to innovation. It's called finds ways to do things better, faster, and or cheaper. Now, innovation, a lot of people, oh, I have done recycling, but the product is going to be more expensive. Then one of the vertices is not getting, so you are making it better, but it's not cheaper. A good innovation will be able to draw on all the 3 vertices at the same time. Why we have moved from circular economy to linear economy is because I'm able to get my product faster. Okay? I'm able to get my product cheaper. And I may get a better product. Now, the moment I get into, and this is something which we have invested a lot of time, though we, as you mentioned about the silica plastic block, though we found the solution in somewhere in 2018, it has been around 6 years we are trying to figure out how to do all the 3 vertices. Because the moment I recycle, I'm saying, no, you have to pay me 20% more for the brick I have made or 30% more. Why would somebody say that? Why should I pay more money? Right? So that is something which kept hitting me behind. we need to do something. And that's where our design innovation, he said, are we married to the brick or are we married to resource efficiency? So go back to the basics. The purpose of your innovation should be much stronger than the product which you are trying to sell. And look at consideration of all the three factors, not only profit, but people, planet, and profit together, the three Ps of doing business. Today, most of the people are only looking at profit. When we go to people, they say, okay, how much is your internal rate of return? Or kitna paisa banega? When I got a call for this technology, I tell people ask me about this. I just ask them a simple question: is this a socio-economic project or is it a commercial project? If it's a pure commercial project, at the moment we are not prepared. If it's a socio-economic project, let us discuss, because this is about PPP. We don't want to encourage anything which is only on one P and other two Ps are not existing. And if the planet is priority, then we'll go to do whatever it takes to help and work together to see that it happens. So this three R5, R6, R7, R8, R9 are those elements where design, innovation, thinking out of the box, everything comes into place. So this triangle is something, if you are able to embed in your mind, that when I'm saying innovation, am I looking at all the three? So it's a way of looking at social and economy at the same time, not pure profit, but social and economic. So my better should not only be from profit, but the better should have people, planet, and profit all in the. It's not a single dimension. And if somebody goes deeper into SDGs, there's a method of mapping your SDG impact. There can be a negative SDG impact. There can be a positive SDG across all the 17 SDGs. So that is also one of the, it's more detailed. I've not shown it, it's too technical. The next slide, please. So can you, I'll take some examples of, Rakesh, you can move to the next slide. Yeah. Now, from a personal life, I'm talking of circularity as a business. As Trishant mentioned, I am running two enterprises. Rhino Machines is a machine capital goods manufacturing. I'm a second generation entrepreneur. I inherited the business from my father, but I also inherited a lot of values from my parents and the family, which lay the foundation of this business, because there are certain things which are very foundational to this business. Is one of them which leads this and connects to circularity. At that time, we did not have anything. We had no idea what was circularity or SDGs, but this is something which was put as a mission statement to develop solutions for energy efficiency and waste recovery as a social responsibility. It's a mission statement which was written way back in 2005, around 20 years ago, when we had nothing to do with all these jargons today. Now there's a name to it, but that's what it was that time. And Mimamsa is a business which was started by my sister, Priyanka, who's also a very socially conscious, based in Mumbai, in textile apparel manufacturing. Being a textile designer and a creative person, I'm very much connected to the, and she was very unhappy that her textiles would go into landfills. So she would say that I don't want anything to go into landfill. So we have to become a zero waste company. 2015, we came together to form this new company, Mimamsa, along with my wife, Rashmi, who has been the pillar. The three of us came together with similar consciousness of sustainable development at the core. Circularity as a practice. Okay. So those founding pillars, going through all the commercial difficulties of even today, I would say that apparel manufacturing is still not sustainable, but somehow we said that we'll do what we can do and sustain it. So Mimamsa, from textile, we found that while Rhino Machines was in manufacturing machines, which is setting up projects, Mimamsa is a production company, which is into putting that technology which Rhino produces into manufacturing activity. And together we look at this technical cycle. So fabric we upcycle. So any side cut which comes in Mimamsa, so nothing goes out of the factory. Everything is converted. There we before COVID also we started this initiative of working with NGOs, would send the cut fabric, convert it into bags, jolas, find a market. It's not so easy, but some people came forward. For example, Heiko in Powai, Mumbai, as supermarket has subscribed to this, and they keep this as a checkout bag, saying not a white bag, saying we'll take whatever fabric it should not be very, it should look something decent. So they, from the side cuts, we are processing them into checkout bags kept at supermarket. So one is remove plastic. So people went for bags. But again, if you're making a bag from a new material, it doesn't connect to circularity. It doesn't connect to sustainability as much as using an existing resource which is put back into use, which otherwise would go into landfill. Okay. So we just shifted the R ladder from, let's say, to remanufacture, re-engineer something and bring it back to the cycle. The principle was of using that R ladder a step ahead. And a year ago, when we started looking at silica plastic block as a technology which required a good amount of effort to incubate, we set up this manufacturing unit in Anand with Mimamsa. And as a social responsibility, Rhino Machines supported Mimamsa with the equipment, technology, space, and together we have been able to co-create a lot of varieties of products which can go. And we also found that we could even take the smallest shred and have been able to put this into the same silica plastic block as a filler. Okay? Which means there's not a single piece of fabric that should go out of our factory. As a technology, we have been able to establish. And this is bringing together different resources. The silica plastic block, of course, is a technology which combines the industry dust and the low value plastic, which today is one of the biggest challenges. Right? Though we did not start from plastic, again, just to put a disclaimer that we had no idea what plastic was till 2017-18. We have been in core foundry business, which is metal casting. We are dealing with sand, we are dealing with machines, hydraulics. And one of the industry came up with a problem. What do we do with the dust which is coming out of the reclamation plant? So we had set up a recycling unit, but the discard was what was the plan. So was a problem for them. So we looked at putting this back. We found plastic as a solution. That's how silica plastic block formed. And over a period of time, we have done several experiments, socio-economic experiments, sent it to labs, sent it to research centers, sent it to an NGO, given it to startups, set up in a Nepal Municipal Corporation, and so on. So next slide, please. So this is how we have incorporated circularity into this. And this is the last summary of how we would look at Rhino, Mimamsa, and the silica plastic block technology is transforming today's waste into tomorrow's resource. In my and our founders, all of us have one very common belief. There is no waste. There's nothing like waste. There's only a resource. It's just how we look at that and how do we bring it back into the system, and how do we see that we look at the R ladder and that material which is going out, and what is the best strategy we can do to reduce that carbon footprint. So thank you very much for this. And the last slide, I think, is only a thank you. And you have my contact numbers on that. If I am always available.
Rakesh, can you? Yeah. Thank you so much, Rakesh. Thank you so much, sir, for your time. And thank you so much for the amazing PPT that you shared. I'll just share your contact details in the chat box right away. And email. Here you go. For anyone who's missed any part of the session, here is the YouTube live link as well. You can refer to the recording and share it with ones who've probably missed it. Okay. Before we move on to the Q&A, I'd like to just take 30 seconds of your time for a quick poll. This will help us get to know you better and tailor future topics that we bring to you. A big thank you to everyone here today. Your presence and participation means a lot to us and makes this webinar a success. While you fill out the poll, I would also like to extend my heartfelt thanks to our speaker, Mr. Manish Kothari, for sharing his valuable time and insights with us. Also going to share Rhino Machines Private Limited websites link and Manish sir's LinkedIn profile link. He's written several articles on various topics relating to SDGs, sustainability, SPBs too, circular living. Kindly do check them out.
I also share the Mimamsa website where all this information. So we are building a website which will be more about information rather than selling. We have been fortunate to find a lot of people interested. There's an intern who's working with us, sitting in Mumbai, to make this even more interactive, working on making an AI chatbot for us.
Cool.
So community who have connected to this, find this very interesting to participate also.
While the poll is going on, I'd like to mention to all of our participants, please visit our website, vishwa.org. Do check out the campaigns that are going on. There's an Annadana campaign going on, which is a food donation program. We distribute food every Friday close to Hyderabad hospitals, cancer hospitals, and you can contribute towards the food donation programs from our website. We have several other fundraising programs going on. Kindly visit vishwa.org and check them out. I will share the link in the chat box itself. Thank you, Rakesh, for sharing the slides. So a lot of people from all over the country travel to Hyderabad to Basavatarakam Cancer Specialty Hospital and also NIMS. And a lot of these people come for the treatment of their relatives. So they stay on the streets, on the footpaths. And there are many organizations that take care of providing food, including a lot of notable organizations. And we do our bit on Fridays. Every Friday afternoon, we distribute food over there. You can check out the other initiatives on the website as well. Okay. Moving on to the Q&A, sir. I'm going to first unmute Mr. Shmuel. Just a moment, Shmuel.
Yeah, you hear me?
Yes, Shmuel, we can hear you.
Thank you very much. Very, very interesting presentation. I too very interested in the subject of circular living and circular economy. And I want to ask you next question. How, according to your opinion, circular economy can support effective resolution problems of poverty and social inequality?
So
Can I
question
rephrase
is
the
a bit
question?
Yeah, yeah.
Let me
please.
rephrase the question for you, sir. How do you think circular economy can help lift up, like get people out of poverty,
Yeah.
uplift them out of poverty? And may I know the second part, Shmuel?
About inequality.
And
Yes.
total inequality. In total
Okay.
inequality.
So, sir, I think it's a very relevant question, but I would be happy to share that from whatever understanding of SDGs I had. You are talking of two SDGs. One is SDG 1, no poverty, and the second is SDG 10, which is reducing inequalities. The moment how do I address this is because if I have got a resource like plastic which has come into my home, and I convert this into value, I'm generating income, which is from SDG 8, decent work and economic growth. That money goes to the people who are working in that region, and that's how we generate economy, money for reducing poverty. So you can get the people who have not no access to work, bring them into work. So that is one. And second is today, for example, we are working in Manipur, a very remote northeastern state, whereas there is no economic activity. So a paver block made of cement has no value creation. So there's an inequality that the production is happening in Assam and the consumption is happening in Manipur about 1,000 kilometers or 800 kilometers. So how do we reduce that inequality of opportunity is by looking at using a local resource, local production and local consumption is how I think SDG 1 and SDG 10 will be connected, because SDG 8 can help both SDG 1 and SDG 10.
I hope, Shmuel, that answers your question.
Yeah, this answer, thank you very much. And I have another question. I want to ask you another short question. What government and authorities of India do for development circular economy in territory of India?
Again, a very, very nice question, but all people, we always complain about the government, but I can tell you from my experience, we have one of the best frameworks for circularity in our country as a policy. Okay? As a policy, we have got EPR, we have got extended producer responsibility, we have got access to Swachh Bharat missions where you have got grants available. It's only when people come together collectively and work with the government, then these policies can materialize. Today, unfortunately, we are sitting in silos, but we are seeing that change happening now. And such collaborative projects where the government and the public, which is called the public-private partnership. As a government, they have the policy framework in place. Now it's for people to collaborate with the government and make it happen. I don't think it's only the government which has to do. It's also an equal responsibility of the people to participate.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Manish, sir. Thank you, Shmuel. Moving on to the next question from Namuna. Can MLP's multi-layer plastic be recycled to make silica plastic blocks?
They are being done so. And that's one of the USPs, or you can say the key findings which we got when we started on this project. We were able to use MLPs and we continue to use MLPs. And you can go on, if you go on Mimamsa website, you'll find a lot of information about that. It is because of this, and it's not only MLP, we call of anything low value plastic. Low value plastic is also LDPE, which is less than 50 micron, which you use in packaging or food packaging, very thin. All of these become an input material for the silica plastic block. And there's a lot of work done and experience is available.
So a personal question, could you elaborate more on the SPBs a little bit? Like what is the market it goes to, and maybe how did you come up with the concept itself?
Okay. So it was business as usual for us. So let me explain the foundry industry from where this germinated. Foundry industry has been recycling metal for ages, centuries, which is where you are melting metal and putting into a shape and casting into a shape. That's why it's called a casting also. Okay, so foundry is the generic name for a place where you cast in metal. This cast molds are being made of sand. Okay? This sand is again reused and recycled. So again, it uses that R ladder to some extent. But over a period of time, because of multiple use, some of this has to be replaced. This sand, which was getting disposed, we developed quite a technology from an Italian company to recycle it. After recycling, we found there was 30% dust which was remnant. And that's where the industry said, now what are you going to do with this dust? Because sand I could put in landfill, dust I can't put anywhere. Because it will fly. It can cause respiratory. And dust is one of the very big problems in our country also, if we see that way. So 2017 is when this question was asked. And I and my research colleague, Rajnikant, we started to look at different ways. And we saw a video of a Russian company who was mixing plastic with dust and sand. And that triggered this idea that something like this could be possible. We took a batch mixer, we did some trials, and then we did a lot of trials with different kinds of plastic. It took us around 6 months to realize, no, this is something which involves. And that's when we named this as first two components, silica sand, which was coming from the foundry, and plastic, which was coming from the community. And we did not name it a brick because for us, it was a block. It was a material. It could be from any shape. Though the first product we made was a brick. There's something called technology readiness levels from ideation to moving right up to commercialization. It is a long journey. So to cut it short, after making this process viable, we found the cost was not, so again, it was not cheaper. Okay? So it was better, but it was not cheaper. It was faster because we did not have any curing time. So as compared to a standard brick, which requires 21 days to cure, this is instant use. You make it, you use it. Okay? But it was not cheaper. And we started working on how this can be re-engineered without subsidy. Because a lot of people say no subsidy should be given. I said that's a temporary crutch. It has to stand its own feet. So we'll support it till the time we are able to, it needs a crutch, but it has to stand on its own feet. It has to run. And then we started working on hollow bricks, paver blocks, and different product ideas as an engineering company. And that was where and that's why I said innovation also calls for design thinking. And we said, now let us look at this silica plastic block not as a block, as a material. Okay? Like any other material, it's a dough. Like you make with wheat flour and water, you put together dough. This is a dough. All I need is a mold, which I can put it into. And which can, so we realize that if you are able to replace metal with this, then it's it takes away the better, cheaper part. Because this is 4 times lighter than metal. And some places, metal is used because there is no other material. So look at those spaces where you are able to give a better value. And that's how the silica plastic block kept on evolving. We were to making planters. So we made a variety of products. We started from a brick construction and we moved to a switch box, which we are using in our own machines. That switch box, my sister said, no, this is a succulent planter. It's all about how you look at things. And she said, can you not make something bigger? We said, okay, we'll make a 4-inch planter. And then we made a 6-inch planter. And this planter gave us this confidence. Now we have opened another segment, which is aspirational product. Okay? So we have now construction product, we have got engineering product, and we have got an aspirational product. So that opens up that entire spectrum. We have got coasters, we have got paperweights, and we say now it's about imagination.
For the reply, sir.
I think there's a question about circular living. I think
Yes,
circular
it's
economy and circular living are both related
coexist.
because they coexist. Because for living, I also need money. Okay? So, but living is to more to do with the way I embrace resources, the way I look at resources. So economy is one part of it, but if I look at everything I touch in my life, in my life, as I this is something which I see it. I don't have a real answer, but anything which I'm associated with as a resource in my life, and I'm able to follow the R ladder in that, I would connect it to circular living. To put it simply, in my understanding, I'm not an expert of this subject.
Very well put, sir. Another question from me. You emphasized on the urgency of shifting to circular living because of hyper consumerism or
Yes.
current overconsumption. What do you think is the biggest barrier to adopting circularity at scale in India?
There could not, I can't say there is one single barrier. There are multiple aspects we need to look at, but I think the lowest barrier we have to cross is why should I pay more for something which I'm getting at a certain price? Because nobody is going to increase my salary. Okay? I reach a certain equilibrium or a place where I know I have so much money and I have got a budget. Now, the first barrier I have to cross is, can I help if I'm able to bring a product which is going to reduce my cost of living? That is the first barrier to me. And to break that barrier, it requires the collection of all the stakeholders. And I'll give you the example of some things which have happened in our country, which not of many of us may have drawn deeper. I give the example of LED lights. Okay? LED lights, if standalone, would have cost more than what we are having. And then, and perhaps this is, I've not studied, but if I look at this business, if I was going to save 30% or 40% or 50% energy, rather than investing few thousand crores in a power plant, okay, I transfer that money into subsidizing it. Okay, so at a macroeconomic level, we have to look at the resources of funds and money are same. Somewhere I'm spending more. Can I support another system which is going to have a long-term impact? Okay. So it's about look. There's something called a behavior again on the UN, which is an empirical, is looking at long-term goodwill or short-term gains. Okay. Now that's a behavioral change, not only at the individual level, it's also at the enterprise or the national level. So two things. One, if I look at the barrier is the first barrier for an individual to adapt is to see that the price is lower. With the same level of parameters, means I'm talking no compromise on quality, but the same price, the value is better. And at a macro level, the barrier is to converge this ecosystem into making this possible. I look at only these two ends of the barrier. In between, everything else is there. Okay, there's a question on how can I raise awareness on waste disposal, train somebody. This is a very common question which I come across, and I thank gentlemen for putting this question. Gentleman lady, whoever was. And this was a question somebody asked me yesterday. What is it that we should do? I said, you start from yourself. First demonstrate and then, so don't preach what you don't practice. Okay? If anybody wants to get involved in such activities, the first thing I would advise is to do it yourself. Number one, put it in public domain, make it being seen by people that what you are doing. And that is how I have got connected to Usha Talks. Yeah, that's the only method of people reaching out is you do something consistently without any expectation and start demonstrating. Make some noise. Don't be very shy. कि लोग क्या कहेंगे, मीन्स people say, oh, you are a kabadi wala. I said, doesn't matter. I'm a kabadi wala. I got plastic collected in my house. People leave plastic at my home. So am I kabadi wala? I said, no. If kabadi wala is the term, I'm happy with it. What's wrong with kabadi wala? As long as I'm able to stay true to my purpose, what I say and what I do are aligned. So don't try to teach rag pickers and say, okay, I'll collect and give this to the rag pickers so they can make a livelihood. This connects to the first question, how do you live poverty? Okay, make those resources and give it to a rag picker. Lift his quality of life. His or her.
A participant has made a very interesting statement in the chat box. Recycling ecosystem should be incentivized. People involved in this activity find themselves offended or last resort to be there, not by choice. Think of a guy engaged in waste collection, in brackets, kabadi wala. So this is something somebody has, Mr. Ranveer has written in the chat box itself.
Okay.
And yeah, I think that a lot of these practices are very, say, marginalized in our country. They're looked down. They're jobs that are looked down upon rather than looked up upon. A lot of
I think this is a word which I'll be is very important. We said this word looked down upon.
yeah.
That this is not celebrated.
Mm.
I'll tell you, I was on a forum in an engineering college discussing why engineers are not coming to core engineering. Okay. It's a very similar situation. People don't come to mechanical, electrical, civil today. Youth are not coming, choosing that. And I said, because we are not making engineering glamorous. And it's for us to blame. I said, people like us who are in manufacturing, we should celebrate. No, why should we shy away? He said, this is, I'm doing, and that's why I'm saying on the forum, I'm happy to be a kabadi man. What's wrong with it?
Yes, absolutely. So
if
am
you take pride in the work you do, doesn't matter what people say about it. Be confident about yourself.
I'd like to request Mr. Venugopal ji to rephrase the question. I saw the question in the chat box, but it's sort of unclear. It mentions innovation in enterprise risk management versus government initiatives and promotion to SDG, challenges today for sustainable development. Kindly rephrase the question again to put it forward clearly.
I think I may be able to understand what he's trying to say.
Please go ahead.
Because I stand in the same space, is, most of the time we are looking to the government to help us. And that's why I'm saying we are looking over a crutch. I would say if I'm able to build a business which doesn't require a crutch, it's sustainable. And it requires a little bit of patience. At the same time, if the government initiatives align and somebody says, no, we'll support you. So I always put out this, I'm going at the speed of 1. If I get support, I'll go at the speed of 10. If I'll get more support, I'll go at the speed of 100. But I'll continue at my speed of 1. If as an innovator, if you're not driven by scale, but driven by what is in your locus of control. And this is very important for us to understand how much, मतलब हम एक हिंदी में कहावत है, पैर उतना ही फैलाओ जितनी चादर है. Yeah? So first I must understand what is the risk I can take. And then start working on that. And that's why, again, I keep on saying, do what you can do rather than letting others to do what they are supposed to do. Move the focus to yourself, and you'll find people who are of similar minds coming to you. It will not take long time. It will take a year, it may take 2 years, but if you're patient enough and you're persistent enough and you're committed to your cause, people will come.
Yeah,
so
thank you, Manish.
Let's not get into why government should do this. Government has created a platform. Yeah.
Right. It's a very difficult, when the enterprise people take up and they say we need to produce a product which is required for the society as a whole, and suddenly you find that your product is not more sustainable because it has a lot of environmental issues as such.
Right.
And understanding that, what happens is, like, you get into a mode where you think, oh, should I make money or should I make a sustainable product? You know, obviously, sustainable products makes, in long term, uh, profit to the individual or the or enterprise that has initiated it, and it helps the environment also. uh, but definitely it's a big challenge, when the enterprises try to recreate a sustainability in their own product, and which is, unless supported by the government initiatives or the platforms, uh, definitely is it's a challenging task. I would still say that, because I'm for you. I'm for you.
Yeah.
And definitely I would like to say that, because see, I have seen many places all over the world, Middle East and Africa. So I was in the oil and gas. um, Again, the impacts on the social impact is like that. When you do a lot of drilling of oil and gas, there's a lot of mud generated, which saw a lot of chemicals in it, which what they do is, which our division was like trying to recirculate it, means through centrifuge process, and just putting into the chemical as a top up and the fresh chemicals. And there was a mud left, where it is there's some sort of oil traces, or some mud was there, which is again nothing but the geosphere of the earth. And again, what they used to do is, whenever they used to do drilling and all, they used to put it along the drill well, make a pit, liners with and all, and keep it stored, right? And it's a desert, and the people think desert is a desert. It's a dustbin, put it as well. But desert has its own ecology also, and desert has its own ecology and all. We try to understand, because there is flora and fauna, and it has ecology. It takes a lot of time to understand. Only the desert people know that.
So, sir,
Uh,
if I can just pick up a few points from your narration. Number one,
Hmm.
you said that sustainability for people, the first thing which I look at is really need this. Okay?
Yeah,
The first question I need to ask is, who is my customer?
right.
Am
Exactly.
I thinking that they are my customer, or are they telling me they are my customer? It's a very big difference. And this is a
Right,
buyer.
right.
It's so we imagine that Trishant is a customer for my product.
Hmm.
Okay? That's my imagination.
Hmm.
And what do? I say, okay, if you say you're liking it, put your money on the table and say this is a
Hmm.
contract.
Yeah.
So the first thing which I have learned to make a business sustainable, to have a contract with the buyer,
True.
prepaid
Exactly.
contract. Okay? And if the buyer is not ready, I said, forget my emotions, I'll do whatever I'm doing.
True. True.
Just
Yeah.
finish.
And putting a
Number one.
perspective of
Number two,
mind.
because sustainability, as I said, is about people, planet, and profit, not profit alone.
Yes.
Now, if the people are not part of this, then how will I get profit?
Right. True.
And if I'm not doing something for the planet, how do I maintain ecology?
Yes.
Okay,
So,
so everything which is coming out from the Mother Earth is a resource.
right.
Okay? And there's some buyer for that.
Hmm.
Rather than trying to look only for the technology solution, if I'm also trying to understand who's going to buy my customer,
Right.
get customer to buy in. See, government is an enabling environment.
Hmm.
Government is a policy maker.
Hmm.
The one thing which I always look at, the government should not get into implementation.
True.
And I relate this to our own manufacturing, where I say the production person, the quality person should be separate.
Yeah. True.
Now today we are saying I'll be the designer also and I'll be the manufacturer also.
Hmm.
Kaise chalega? How will it work?
Right.
There's going to be some biases which will come in.
Right.
So
Exactly.
it has to do something with the basic philosophy on which this business is built.
True. Yeah. I mean, so, the overall layer is enterprise risk management with sustainability in factor. I mean, putting my perspective further, I said, because they were dumping it, and again, we had the technology to
There will be some solution. Yeah.
deliver.
So,
But again, the customer has to pay for that, because that was the challenge. So what we used to do is, they used to dump all the mud towards central location, and we used to do that. Ultimately, the customer is paying to us. That, one of the customers in the oil and gas, we
if
cannot
the
go
customer
forward.
is
We cannot
paying,
be
the
just
customer
seeing
is paying.
environment.
Sir, the customer is paying, but am I also looking where the customer can pay year on year? am I also investing in the sustainability of my customer? Or am I only looking
Yeah,
at
true.
sustainability of my
And-
own enterprise?
yeah, yeah.
Sustainability,
And that was the key
sustainability
factor
has
was
multiple layers. Let us
right.
understand.
Right.
For an ecosystem to survive,
Mm.
there's a saying, rising tides will lift all the boats. Am I caring for my boat or I'm
Right.
caring for the tide?
True. True.
The
True. True.
business
Understand.
decision has to come from a better decision would be when I'm feeling the tide, not lifting it. Look at my
Mm.
boat. My boat will rise in any case, no, if I lift the tide.
True. 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 Thank you. Thank you,
So the,
sir.
so the customer's interest should be as equal as my interest. Is
True.
what I
Exactly. I would say more than because ultimately technology is there, solution is there. But ultimately, they want to preserve their land. They need to pay up because otherwise it will not happen. It keeps on lying there for
Yeah.
years and years. Thank you, sir.
So thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. So before I move on to the next question, I'd just like to quickly mention the future talk that we are doing next week. And meanwhile, you can just have some refreshments if you'd like. Okay, so we have Dr. Sirimao Nair, who's a retired professor from MS University, Baroda. And she conducted a very interesting session a few months back on food fortification. And she's talking on enhancing maternal and child nutrition during global emergencies next week on Saturday, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. This comes into light because of all the, say, violence and warfare and everything that's happening around the world. We need to make sure that there's good amount of nutrition going to women, children, all humans alike. And she's going to be talking on this on next Saturday, on 10th. Post that, we have Mr. Dr. Shashir Rawal, who's also from MS, and he's in the USA currently. He's going to be talking about how human intervention affects the ecological cycle around water bodies or rivers or seas and oceans. We see a rapid amount of work being done in all the states around rivers. This is probably to curb pollution, but a lot of the ecological habitat is being destroyed in the process. And we're trying to shed light into how human intervention shouldn't be only about hyper-materialistic urbanization, and it should also have a balance somewhere. Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for being patient. And I'd like to get on to the next question from Mr. Ranbir again. Defense has so much of procurement, which is 90% disposed of unused. Can governments world over be made to understand environmental impact of it? Yeah, he's also quoted very good, informative session.
I think the answer lies within the question.
True.
So you have also answered that somebody who's going to take this up is the government. See, it's not only about defense. So we look at defense because it's something outside. I keep on going back. Am I able to do this on my own? Am I looking at my own system or my own living? And that's why I go back to circular living. That rather than telling what others are doing wrong, they may have their own reasons, but can I start to demonstrate on myself and then say that I'm doing this and why can't somebody else do this?
Sir, I'd like to unmute Shravani ma'am. She's the founder of Vishwa, and she's just joined in from remotely as of now. Hello, ma'am. Just a moment, yeah.
Hi. Sorry, I'm actually here as a participant and I had a question. So
Just change your hat.
yeah, see, there's a very interesting thing you had said, and that is, you said that you have downsized your house.
Yeah.
So here I am. When we were building the house, my husband said we want a big rooms for each of the child. Now we built the house, the kids went off abroad to study, and then now they're married, each one is living in their own homes. And I'm stuck as just like you in a big house. I'm living only in the ground floor. I hardly go to the top floors. So I enjoy my house. It's beautiful. I love the garden. It's very self-expressed, the home, everything. Now I can tell my kids, you come and stay with me. So one day by mistake, when they came and stayed, till 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, loud music, people going around. So it's difficult to, when they were leaving, it felt bad. When you still want them to be here. But when you're used to the calmness of this life, trying to adjust with someone is difficult. So what's your solution for that?
I think that multiple perspectives, ma'am, which you are talking about is it's a very deep thought which you have. It's a very deep question. Is today, how much are we looking at expectations as a part of our life? And sometimes we are driven so much by expectations that it impacts our decision making. So one of the things which, am I expecting that my child should stay with me? Okay. And does the child expect something from me? This is one. Second is the space. So there's a certain space we call relativism as a way of living. Is if I'm able, and it comes from tolerance is something as an attribute as we have grown up to being tolerant, living in a joint family. It has its own learning. It has its plus, and every system has its own plus and minuses. But as we have evolved, we have what is existing today. Look at the existing system today, and figure out what is the best way to live in this existing system rather than worrying about what was in the past. Is how we have started living. So not holding on to materialistic things. Not holding on to expectations from the world, expectations from your children. Detachment. Detachment perhaps is one of the most difficult things to practice. And if you're able to master detachment, I think it's directly connected to my stress, what's happening around me. I don't have an answer to you, but I think this is a situation for many, many people today. Who have invested in big houses and the children are outside because, see, when we grew up, we did not have so many opportunities available. Today, the youth have so many opportunities and we also wish they would grow. So why don't we step back and say, and this is related to this question the gentleman asked, that the customer, when I said, does my child want this? Is a question I'll ask. Okay. So who's my customer of that room? Is my child. And I'll ask a simple question, do you want this? Then these are the rules of the game. Okay. If you want to, because this is how the system works. So somewhere that some lines which need to be drawn in a way of coexistence of people. I know it's not a simple answer to give, but I'm trying to give what best I'm able to give, and you can reflect on it.
Sure.
But I think detachment is something which our mother taught us. And I really remember that and keep on detaching from things which pull me down.
We'll follow that. Thank you.
Nishant, you're on mute.
I'd like to add a point to that. I think Vishwa is doing a pretty good job in terms of circular living because our office is also using ma'am's residential space basement, so it does use up the space quite a lot.
That is the our one ladder, which is rethinking sharing resources.
Yes.
So you can just go back to the R ladder and find you are connected to R1.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Got a couple of queries on from people working in similar sectors. One is from Mr. Kunal and another one is from Mr. Dinesh. And they are curious about the SPBs. So they are also curious about the machineries and technology involved in making the SPB. I have given them your contact details.
They have my contact details. You can go to the website. You are welcome to come to Anand, visit us, see all said and done. It's very difficult to believe what is there on face value. Come down, see, There is no intellectual property. There is no patent. It's an open source. You can see, you can build yourself, do whatever you want, but just look at improving the quality of life.
Thank you so much, sir. Before I think I've run out of questions from the chat box, but I have one. What advice would you give to young entrepreneurs who want to build businesses that are both economically viable and environmentally sustainable?
Sorry, can you just rephrase this?
Yes, sure. What advice would you give to young entrepreneurs?
Okay, not advice. Okay. I was just trying to understand. So, are we somebody to advise youngsters? So I'm saying I'm not here to advise anybody what to do. But I can share some empirical experiences of a lot of research of how youth have been able to succeed. So if you think that may work, so there
Yes,
are
sir.
some which you should look at. There's a lot of talk of startup youth at the college, become a startup. But I think people are not seeing the numbers that the success rate is maybe around 1.5 to 2%. Okay. Nobody talks about the 98% failures. Everybody talks about the 2% success. And I'll relate this to a research done in 1980s by the United Nations UNCTAD, United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, from where this program called Empretec was developed, and you'll find this mentioned in my website or LinkedIn. This is called Tecnología de Emprendedores, means technology of entrepreneurship. It's a Spanish concoction, where through three experiments of 2 years each, what they found was that the success rate of startups went to more than 95% by doing only one. There was one change where the young entrepreneurs were shadowing senior entrepreneurs. Okay, so now there's a space today where there's a lot of I did not get, means there's a it's not ego, but it's a lot of confidence in the youth that I want to, so that I becomes very strong. And so I want to be an independent, I want to do it myself. And that does not allow you to become part of somebody senior. Yes. So that confidence is required, but sometimes that confidence can be counterproductive, because when you get into any entrepreneurship or any career, the experience which you get from a senior person, from the failures in particular, not the success, is going to help you reduce your failures, because there's going to be failures. And this research brought out some behavioral aspects from a lot of so we call this, if a young person today comes to us, he say, intern, be an apprentice, and get incubated with a senior entrepreneur. You bring in your idea. Okay? You have your originality, but don't think you'll be the whole. Be a part of the whole. So if there's one advice which I would look at how you can be part of the whole rather than in the whole. Just look at it that way.
Wonderfully answered, sir. Thank you so much for the reply. With that, I'd like to announce the closure of the session. So you'll see a breakout room link shortly on your screen, and kindly join the link. And meanwhile, if anyone's missed any part of the session, or for all of our participants, I'm pasting the links of the YouTube video of this particular session, sir's contact details, email details, also Rhino Machine's private limited website, and sir's LinkedIn profile, where you can check out all the articles he's written on circular living, sustainability, SDGs, Rhino, private industries, and also Mimamsa. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to see you next week at 11 a.m. on Saturday.
కింది పోయి ఫ్యాన్ పట్టుకు వస్తారు. ఇది తీసుకుందాం ఫ్యాన్స్. ఏ ఫ్యాన్ చేస్తాం? భాస్కర్ గారి దగ్గర ఉంది డెన్సర్ రూమ్ లో టేబుల్ ఫ్యాన్ డైరెక్ట్ ఆ మూల పెట్టి ఇట్లా పెట్టుకుందాం. సౌండ్ ఇట్లా పెడదాం. Thank you.